What's up, martial artists? It's the Cause, it's Midnight Lights, and this is my part of my no death, no sweat, no cheese, in-depth guide to beating Sean and sparing Sean. You can check out the full guide here. I'll drop a little card for you, but this is just about how to break structure, which is the key to sparing bosses. So it's tips and tricks for that, and then it's a full uncut video of the phase 2 part of Sean, where you're going to see me go through the process of breaking his structure. Let's get into it. And we have arrived at the How to Spare Sean walkthrough. So this is everything you need to know to spare Sean, to beat him without completely draining his life. And you can really use this for any boss, but we're going to talk about Sean specifically. So first, the basics of actually like what is breaking someone's structure and how do you do it. So very basically, it's when you break a boss's structure twice without draining his life completely or knocking him out. And when you do it the second time, you don't press square triangle, you look for that prompt that says spare, which is left on the D-pad for PlayStation 5. Now, you're going to be monitoring if you're doing a good job of breaking his structure without draining his life on the bars up here. So you can see I just broke his structure, which is the top bar, but the low bar, you want to keep something there because that's his life. So that's really it. That's the number one thing you need to know, is just how to spare a boss, which is breaking their structure twice without draining their life, aka knocking them out. Next tip, it's important to keep in mind that your lowest age when you go into a hideout saves. So your spare, like sparing each boss, is what you need to do to get the true ending of the game, or the best ending of the game, and that permanently saves too. So you only have to do it once. And when you go to the hideout, you'll still be at your youngest age. So it's okay to die. Don't worry so much about sparing Sean or any other boss at a very young age. You just have to, it's sort of the business end of things. You just have to get the spare so you have it. So then when you spare Yang at the end, you get that best ending or true ending. Right, so that's like all of the orientation to breaking structure. Now let's actually talk about the different things you can do to help break boss's structure. And there are a few things, and one the game doesn't tell you, that's so important that you know, so we'll go over that in detail for sure. So the three things that damage structure are doing damage, but you want to take it easy with that because you don't want to drain their whole life. Also hitting them while they're blocking, parrying, which is just hitting L1 when a hit of theirs lands, and then deflecting is perfect parrying, or hitting L1 right when a particular attack lands and then it opens up a vulnerability window. And tell me in the comments if you found any way to perfect parry any of Sean's attacks, because I wasn't able to. So definitely hit me up in the comments if you were able to do that. So in Sifu, there's deflecting or perfect parrying, and I haven't figured out a way to do that on any of Sean's moves, but this is what it looks like with Fajar, where you press L1 at just the right moment and it does this perfect parry, opens up a vulnerability window, and then that does a ton of structure damage. But the other thing you can do is parrying, which is still hitting L1 right when an attack lands on you, but it won't perfect parry, but it will damage their structure. So we'll watch it a couple times here. So you can see as he helicopters me, I press L1, and you can see that bar on the top just increase a little. Now this is the most important thing you need to know for breaking boss's structure without draining their life, because the other strategies we're going to go through drain their life and damage their structure, but parrying is the one thing you can do that will damage their structure without doing damage to them, which is so critical to being able to spare them. Another thing that helped me break enemy structure without draining their life completely was sticking to light attacks, so trying to use square on PlayStation 5 more than triangle. And if I did sweep them down, trying not to do ground and pounds by holding circle. So this just helps do damage to structure without doing a ton of damage to their life, which is key to sparing. Also, you want to do sustained attacks. So if you leave them alone for too long while you rebuild your structure or whatnot, then their structure is going to get stronger or better. And this is why it's important to remember it's okay to die. They're going to break your structure and kill you, but that's okay. You just have to spare them once in a saved game. Also, you want to do quick light attacks after picking up. This one is a little bit risky, but after a ground and pound, if you do use one and you pick Sean up, there's a very brief window in which he's blocking, in which you can land a couple light attacks maybe, and that will damage his structure without damaging his life. And those, y'all, are the tips to sparing Sean. It's both simple but also difficult, of course, because it's all about getting his timing and scouting his moves, which you can do in my full and complete guide on how to beat and spare Sean. But let's move on to my video where I spare Sean. We're just going to watch an uncut viewing of phase 2 where I spare Sean, and I'll do some commentary to apply what we've learned so far. So you can see there right off the bat, I'm using square attacks, and I chose not to do a sweeping attack and then a ground and pound, though I do a ground and pound here, which does a lot of damage to structure, just also does quite a bit of damage to his life. So during those attacks, I'm trying to press L1 at just the right time to do that parrying, which will damage his structure and not damage his life. But right now my strategy is mostly like attack. I'm using square attacks to damage his structure. I need to do a sweep there to get my staff back. Gotta have that staff. That was right to the special place. So you could see in that helicopter, the swinging of the staff there, I pressed L1 at the right time several times, and it really has an impact on his structure. Those were all avoids, but those attacks did quite a bit of damage to his structure. And so at this point, you probably know, like, I'm feeling pretty confident about how much structure damage he has compared to his life. So I'm not as worried about doing damage. And of course, as his life gets below 50% and down to 25, he gets quite aggressive. So I'm just being mindful of that. I'm still working on that structure without doing too much damage to his life. I didn't parry any of those. This is a little bit of survival mode right now, and again, also just being like, damage will do enough. I don't have to parry all of these to do the damage to structure, but it would make things move faster. It's definitely a good strategy. Yeah, so I parried one of those. I'm just staring at the structure bar throughout this. Okay, so here it comes. I'm going to break his structure, and then again, I'm not going to press the buttons you're prompt to then, because that will beat him, you know, that will kill him or knock him out basically. So we've broken his structure once, now we got to break it again, and this is where it's pretty hard. He's very aggressive, not a lot of time in between his combos. This is where all of your scouting and practice. Again, watch my full guide to get all of that too. So all of those attacks I parried. So again, at this point, I'm sort of like, okay, he's got maybe a quarter life left. I'm probably going to have to do some parrying. Yeah, I resisted the ground and pound there. Parried those last two attacks. It's doing quite a bit to his structure. And so yeah, at this point, I'm like, okay, structure's almost done. I can use doing damage to help break his structure. Like I said, you're gonna die. You only have to spare him once, and then it saves for the entire thing. And remember that when you beat a hideout at a certain age, you'll always be able to go back to it at that youngest age. So even if you're 65 when you spare Sean, when you go to the next hideout, you'll still be at your youngest age when you beat him. So I always beat the boss first and then spared him in a second try. So yeah, that's it. Sean spared. No sweat, no death, no cheese. Just like skillful virtual martial arting to beat Sean. And I hope the tips and tricks helped to this point. I know my videos are a bit long. Hopefully you stuck around till this point, because everything builds on it. It's just about building the skill and the timing, and it's so rewarding. The ending, when you do spare all of the bosses, is worth it. So look out for all of my other no sweat, no death, no cheese guides. They're coming out soon. Thank you so much for watching this guide and my other videos. I'll put some other videos at the end here that I think you might like. And just don't forget that once I start making some money and I get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to donate 50% of what I make to a charity and charities that my subscribers want to give to. So I'm really looking forward to that moment, really looking to build towards 1,000. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram and Twitter. I'm posting stuff on there regularly. Again, thanks so much. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.